And now back to our top story. We're very pleased to be joined by NEC member, the Honourable Nomvula Mokonyane, to talk to us about the current situation unfolding in Tshwane. Minister, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon and thanks for inviting us.
Look, Minister, the ruling party had committed to gender parity going forward to these local government elections. Togo Didiza was named as the Tshwane Mayoral candidate, joining two other female nominees in other municipalities. So what is the issue here then?
Even my municipality, Mogale City, has a female mayoral candidate for the first time. What is the issue at stake? Ordinarily, South Africans should be appreciating what the ANC has done for the first time in 20 years of local government post-apartheid, where for the first time we have actually unveiled our mayoral candidates before the elections. It has never happened, precisely because in the past, members of communities had said, you're selling us something that is incomplete. And we then went back, we worked out our processes, we reviewed policy. And upon the review of policy, one of the things that came out was, let us make sure that one, when we deal with a ward candidate, because a ward candidate is a representative of a community in my ward. And therefore, let's make sure that we include communities in that ward. Firstly, it must start within the African National Congress branch. You must take those names that have been nominated through the NC processes to a community meeting for the community to endorse these names. And upon doing that, bring it back to the organization so that the NC can then consider what comes out of the communities and take it forward to the upper structures, the region, the province, up to a national list conference. We, the only party, the African National Congress, upon having heard our communities saying, you are a leader of society, involve us. And that's exactly what we have done, because indeed, local government is in the hands of our communities. And the most immediate space, it's the branch, the ward, where the ANC is contesting. As we speak, we then agreed, worked on a policy that says, for the ward candidates, there will be consideration of community participation. President Jacob Zuma pronounced that in the state, in the January 8 statement in the Northwest, yes, in our January 8 program of action for 2016. Then, parallel to a ward candidate, then there is an internal democratic process of the African National Congress where a branch and branches that constitute a region come together and make nominations of Team ANC that will then go into a municipality. That is your proportional representatives, those that will represent the ANC on the basis of the percentage that we get. And that does not include communities. So the bigger size of our representatives come through that party structure. The other side, it's the ward candidate, which we then include the communities. Having done all that through a national list conference, we then take all these names to the IEC. But before they reach even the IEC, it is the ANC only in this country that then put its own internal processes of doing a political screening of the candidates, whether it's a ward candidate or whoever. And upon doing that, it is only the ANC that says we want to ensure 60% retention of the current serving councillors, we want to have gender parity, and now post our National General Council, the Youth League was able to persuade the ANC to say, accommodate young people. The demand was on 40%. For now, until policy conference, we made a consideration of 20%. In it, we then said any conference must do the voting for the proportional representative and make sure that you don't tamper with the first 10% of those who have been voted in through a democratic process of the ANC. But arrange that there is gender parity, we call it a zebra.
Okay.
And you then do male, female, and you make sure, therefore, that the whole list is 50%.
In that list, Minister, if I can just get in there, I mean, was Kgosi Ramakgopa then part of the 3 names that were submitted as per requirement in line with the 2007 Polokwane National Elective Conference?
You want me to fast forward, but I wanted to draw a distinction about community participation. It ends with the selection of ward candidates. Once that it is done, then the whole process gets carried by the ANC. For the selection of the mayoral candidates, our policy in the ANC says the Regional Executive Committee shall put together 3 names in an order of priority.
Yes.
Upon doing that, it shall present those names to the PEC of the African National Congress. The Provincial Executive Committee shall apply its mind. The names that came from the Tshwane region of the African National Congress did not have Comrade Kgosi Ntshu. They had the other 3, with Mapiti being the first on the list. Upon looking at this, the Provincial Executive Committee made a realization that if you're gonna consider this list, you are going to cause more harm to the movement. Let's rather look at other names. They came with 3 other names, which Comrade Thoko Didiza's name was part of it. And we all, in the order of priority, respected what was presented by the National Executive Committee. Totally different from what we did last year in PE with the intervention through Comrade Denny Jordan. But now, he has also been a subject. So the selection of mayors, I'm sure you have voted more than twice. I'm sure you have not had any party, including us in the NC, ever saying we're calling a meeting for the community to come and choose a mayor. Because it is left in the structures of the African National Congress. Because all we're doing is to say, let's get the face or the leader of Team ANC, which will be the council that must take forward the good work in Tshwane that was started by Peter Maluleka, carried through by Father Smangali Somkachwa, then moved over by Comrade Gwen Ramokgopa, and the last being Comrade Sputla. And it is through the manifesto of the African National Congress that a mayor and his or her team succeed. It is in the ANC. Remember, we do not have constituency representatives. We have representatives of the ANC. The last thing I want to raise is that none of the 2 were part of this process that is inclusive of the community, which is for a ward candidate. So they've emerged through the party process. Members of the ANC understand. And what we have just changed is that we have unveiled our mayoral candidates prior to elections.
All right. Now, look, there are reports, Minister, that some senior ANC regional leaders are behind some of these protests. What is your reaction to that? And some of them are even suggesting that the current mayor, Ramakgopa, is actually a part of this. But in his earlier interview with the channel, he distanced himself from the protests, even condemning the violent protests that have ensued.
We mustn't allow aspersions being cast over individuals. And where people have information, they know where to take that information. But for now, we must guard against information peddlers and people who want to sow much more serious interventions. What we must hold every one of them, and that's exactly what we have said. They, together with Comrade Mapiti, must go to Tshwane, because it's not one side. The Regional Executive Committee of Tshwane is divided. And that division has made members of the ANC to choose sides. And hence you rather bring another member of the ANC. By the way, Comrade Thoko Didiza is a member of a ward. I think it is Ward 6 in Tshwane, in a zone called Mitsweding. You remember Mitsweding used to be a region on its own. It has actually merged with Tshwane. Yes. She's an active member there. She's been an active member in that particular region. She services her branch. As we speak now, Comrade Thoko Didiza is part of our management team of elections. Myself is being assigned to pay attention and support Tshwane. Comrade Malusi Kikaba support Johannesburg. Comrade Figile look after the Western Cape, Cape Town in particular, and Port Elizabeth. Comrade Thoko Didiza is now busy as our team leader, focusing on making sure that we pull our structures together in the entire Polokwane, not in Polokwane, Limpopo. She can't speak Tsonga, Venda, whatever, but she knows the rules of the game. She understands the program of the ANC. She has actually revived our elections machinery that was a bit weak. And therefore, what we will really urge people of South Africa living in Tshwane, give us a chance. Let's present Comrade Thoko Didiza to you, and you'll realize it was a right choice for the African National Congress to deploy her as your mayoral candidate. The same as you have embraced those that you never knew until you cast your vote. I dare say you will eat out of her palm, because what she will be bringing, it's the capability of implementing the mandate of the African National Congress to move Tshwane to greater heights on the basis of the elections manifesto. Our worry is we have lost 3 days now of having to go into the Tshwane area, talk to our members, talk to sectors, the churches, talk to business, and let Thoko tell everybody go to Tumengan. That's what we want to do. And we do believe that the ANC never fails to deploy. 5 years ago, nobody knew Comrade Sputla as a capable mayor. But it is the ANC that gives South Africans what is good. We urge even those who know him as their child, their grandchild, their brother, put the ANC and respect the processes of the ANC as we have done all along.
So with that, you're saying that the decision to deploy Thoko Didiza is final and
yes,
it's not going to change?
Remember, we have 237 municipalities in South Africa.
Yes.
We have deployed 237 mayoral candidates in the whole of South Africa. There's not been any resistance. So we can't measure the correctness of our decision on the basis of criminality and anarchy that has happened in Tshwane. And thanks God, the comrades themselves have distanced themselves from this and said not in our name. Yes, we have not made a wrong decision. Sometime you have to give us the opportunity to prove ourselves. And remember, this is one comrade who, when things were tough in the ANC and she was no longer a minister and there were internal dynamics in the ANC, she opted to go home and not to join any political party. Comrade Thoko went back to her family in Tshwane, and what did she do? She opened what was called Thoko's Kitchen. The taxi guys in Marabastad, surely they don't understand that is the same Thoko, because she had burned through the sun and the smoke of frying the T-bone steak and preparing pap in Marabastad. That is the Thoko we're talking about, that we used to buy that plate on credit from, who never turned against the ANC, humbled herself until she was elected back into the NEC in Mangaung, and she became nothing in terms of being a public deployee until she was sent to Parliament, became a backbencher. Today, I'm sure those of you who have now become fans of the parliamentary channel, you can see when she speaks, the authority, even Julia's.
Talk to us about her. Talk to us about her minister. Who is Thoko Didiza?
That is it. And that's what I want to also, the ANC wants to correct. Thoko Didiza is a child of the African National Congress. I've known Thoko, just as I've known Batabile and many others, coming from Natal. She used to work with the Young Christian Women's Association. She used to come here in Braamfontein, across the country, even going to Tafelkop, talking to women during apartheid times. Remember, we never had centers for abused women. The state never provided shelter for women who need accommodation. YCWA used to do that. Thoko used to do that. She worked with us and other comrades like Tabishange, like Ntombi Shope from Limpopo, under Melidia Kompe, led by Mamu Albertina Sisulu, to focus on rural development in Tafelkop, in various areas here in the Transvaal. She came and worked here with us. She was a member of the Youth Congress. She has been an activist of the African National Congress. So she didn't come to Gauteng now that people think ministers stay in Pretoria. She's a child of the ANC, because the ANC can send you anywhere and at any time. That's Togo for you. But fast forward it. Togo has been in the scheme of being able to communicate and be able not to use her limitations of not being a Mosotho or a whatever. And we must guard against that, especially in this province like Gauteng. I was talking to some people now. My protectors as were coming. I said, who knows what Soshanguve stands for? It stands for Sotho, Shangaan, Nguni, Venda. So what gives when people start now to be nasty and play on the issue of language and tribalism? Be careful about that. It will be used to divide us. There is no one in Gauteng who can claim originality here. My mother is Xhosa. I'm born by Mkhize, who's my father. First day at school, they didn't take me to a Xhosa or a Zulu school. Here in Gauteng, in Kagiso, they took me to a Setswana school. And yet we lived in Makhoseni. On the other side, we were Zulu jump. I'm now married to a Mosotho. How do you define me? How do you... Let's desist from that. Even the group that gathers and tell the media to say the other limitation about Togo is the issue of language. Even Comrade Khosiyensu can't speak Ndebele and Zulu and Xhosa. Yes, he's good at Sitokwa Pedi, because that's not the criteria. Two, look at what we are bringing to you. Let's guard against people who want to find every little excuse, including a woman. Including saying, maybe because she's a woman and maybe because she came to Tshwane being a minister. Togo is not a minister. She never left Tshwane when she stopped being a minister. She continued to serve as a branch member under this leadership. Those who have been with the ANC over time in Tshwane can tell you, she will be a delegate of her branch. She came to Mangaung being a delegate of a branch. She was not an NEC member. That's Togo for you. None of us are perfect, but we are saying, give us the chance. Let's present this candidate to you. And you'll appreciate what the ANC is all about. Stop anarchy in our name. Those who are known to be ANC members, we can't hide behind the fact that you're saying you are doing it for Sputla. Sputla hates and detests that action.
Minister, thank you so much for your time right here. That is ANC NEC member, the Honourable Nomvula Mokonyane, joining us to talk to us about the current situation that is unfolding in Tshwane.